Hello, welcome on into All Things Odd. I'm Dr. Natalie Phillips.
I'm Dr. Hannah Galloway.
And I'm Whitney.
And we are going to share our YouTube first and kind of go over that. So Dr. Galloway or Whitney, do you want to talk about our YouTube?
Yeah, so this is our YouTube page. If you search our business name, you can find us, and then you can subscribe and get notifications about new episodes. And then that way you can go back and look at the other topics that we have covered. I think next week we won't have a show. So that would be like an opportunity that you could go back and watch an old one if you wanted to.
Got different playlists and everything too, so we're doing pretty good there. All right, now we're going to talk about our topic for today. All right, so today we're going to be talking about National Siblings Day, which is today, April 10th. And yes, we're going to tie it into your ears and hearing. So just some facts about National Siblings Day. It's I thought it was kind of interesting, but it is also known as World Siblings Day, and it's celebrated in countries around the world, including India, Portugal, Spain, and Australia. And it was founded in the U.S. in 1995 by Claudia, I hope her last name is pronounced Abart, who created the day after losing her brother and sister at a very early age. And so she chose April 10th to celebrate National Siblings Day because it was her sister Lizette's birthday. She also created the Siblings Day Foundation, which is working to make the holiday federally recognized in the U.S. And then in 1998, 49 states have issued proclamations to observe National Siblings Day on April 10th. And former presidents Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama have also recognized the holiday. So 49 states is pretty good. And that was back in 1998. So maybe it is now federally recognized in the U.S. I feel like if it was 49 states back in 1998, like who was that last state? Come on.
Yeah, I want to know who was
it?
Yeah, like just jump on board. Come on. So kind of interesting, but yes, it's National Siblings Day. So I thought to kick us off, we kind of go around and just kind of talk about our siblings. I have one. I just have an older sister. She's 2 years older than me. And we played sports together. And it was kind of funny because we played both basketball and volleyball. We played much different positions. In volleyball, she was a setter and I was a middle hitter. And in basketball, she was a three-point shooter and I was under the basket because I liked contact and I liked pushing people. And so I remember in basketball, because she was 2 years older, when I was a junior or a senior or something, and she was long gone, I was shooting a free throw and the ref came over to me and he's like, haven't you been here for like 5 years? And I was like, yeah, number one, how is that possible in high school? I can't be there for 5 years. And number two, like, dude, you're talking about my sister. And I don't think we look anything alike, but probably our body types and everything. But I always thought that was kind of funny that he literally thought like I was there full time, like we flunked or something. But I absolutely love my sister. So shout out to my sister, Candy Wada. She actually is like never on social media, so she probably won't see this at all. But she is one of the most generous and kind and thoughtful people. She works hard. And I think it's funny because people think that I'm actually organized. Well, she's like 100 times better than me. So, yeah, exactly. Everybody's like, what? But she is. She makes charts for everything, color codes it or whatever. And when we go on vacation together, she just sends it to me. I'm like, I don't even have to worry about it. So absolutely love my sister, but I wanted to just kind of introduce her, give her a shout out on social media. And I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Galloway.
Yes. So I have 3 siblings. I have one sister that is 2 years older than me. We're almost exactly 2 years apart, less 5 days. So my birthday's 5 days before hers. And as a kid, I was so confused on how my birthday's first, but she's older. Made no sense for a very long time. And so we have the same mom and dad. And then I have half siblings too. I have 2 half siblings that are 19 and 17. And they are my half siblings. And through my dad. So my dad, my stepmom have them. And so I have 3 siblings, but 2 are still teenagers, which is kind of funny. My older sister and I obviously spent, the most time together. And she lives here locally, and she's a nurse at PVH. And so we get told a lot that we look the same. And actually at my nephew's birthday party, when they showed up, our daycare provider, who had never met my sister, was like, "So is that one your nephew?" Like, she could tell by the way that we look. So my sister and I have worked at several of the same places. In college, we worked at the library together, and in high school, we worked at a restaurant together. And people would try to give us orders for the other one. So that was kind of fun.
Awesome. Wait.
I only have one sibling, but my sibling is actually a twin. So I have a twin brother. And so no one was really getting us confused, obviously. But he currently lives in Texas. So he went to the University of Baylor in Waco, Texas. And then he now lives in Dallas. But he and I are very, very close, despite the distance. Probably closer now than when we were actually growing up together, but he's definitely one of my best friends. I love when we call each other, and I don't know, people ask me about twin telepathy. I don't really know, but we do tend to call each other when we're having hard days, which I find interesting. So, without knowing that the other one was having a hard day. But yeah, he and I, we're very different, but I really do aspire to be more like him. He is a very, very important person in my life, and I always get excited for summer or holidays because he typically does try to come back, so then I get to see him. But when your sibling lives farther away, it does give you a place to go visit, and so hopefully we'll get to go to Dallas soon to check out his new digs. So
awesome. All right. So yes, it's National Siblings Day, but we are going to tie this into your ears and hearing. And so the question is, why are siblings important for your ears and hearing? And so I just wanted to kind of kick it off, and we'll kind of do like a round robin again too. But honestly, what we see in our office when somebody, a kid or someone comes in, we find a hearing loss. One of the things that we ask in case history is, do you have family history? And sometimes, you think about like, oh, the parents or something like that. But when they're babies or when they're kids that come in maybe off of screening or something at school, then we typically have the conversation with parents that, hey, are there any other siblings? Did they have any, history of ear infections, or are you any other concerns for hearing loss since we found whatever we found, right? Whether it is a hearing loss or an ear infection. And then we kind of start talking a little bit more, and it makes the family more aware of, what do we need to get all my kids screened, or do I need to be following some speech development issues and watching that? But it really allows the people in the family, I was going to say parents, but also siblings too, because it depends on when we identify some difficulties with the hearing or with the ears. We have that conversation of family history, not just parents, but other siblings, things like that. So it really makes the patient more aware of what to look for, and maybe to even bring up that conversation with their siblings, like when they're older and they're like, hey, I just got hearing aids. Did you guys get hearing aids? Or like, where are you? Are you having a problem? So it just kind of helps by having these conversations with your family members, and especially with your siblings. So better awareness. And also, it's important to check other people in the family. And sometimes we even have the conversation with parents about having genetic counseling if it's something that they've got to go a little bit deeper into and take a look at that.
Yeah, I'll add to that. A lot of times, if it is a first child of a couple and they, we've diagnosed hearing loss, sometimes we talk about, for everyone that has a child diagnosed with hearing loss, you can go get genetic workup, go to Children's Hospital and have some genetic testing done to find out, is there a gene related to this hearing loss, or is this something that might happen, with a future pregnancy, just to, be aware of it. So that's also, can kind of help families to prepare for, is this something that, might happen with another pregnancy?
I think, it's also a good opportunity for siblings to learn about hearing devices. And I know Dr. Galloway, I think, had a patient this week that had a sibling that said, well, why does my sibling have to wear hearing aids? And I think, it's a really good opportunity, regardless of age, to start talking about, hearing health. What is it like hearing? I think especially if you have younger kids, it can be hard if, your child, maybe they're not, they don't have maybe a severe to profound loss, but they do have a mild loss. So it can be confusing for one child. Like, well, they hear me sometimes, so why do they need hearing aids? And so I think there's a lot of good support that can be had by actually educating all the members of the family, all the kids, regardless if, other ones do have a hearing loss.
Yeah, that this week it was like a junior high aged sibling, and they said, why does she need to wear those? Because she hears just fine without them. And so it was a good counseling opportunity. And yes, she could go to school and still learn and still participate in most things, without her hearing aids, but it doesn't mean it wouldn't be harder for her, and that it wouldn't put her at a disadvantage. So that it was a good kind of opportunity to explain it. And although the parent didn't have that question, I think everybody can learn from that. It's just kind of gives you a greater perspective. And then also, just having awareness of other people out in public, of, somebody that has hearing loss, or, what they might be dealing with, or that they might be having trouble and noise, or, things like that.
And we have quite a bit of twins. Like, I can think of maybe 3 sets of twins, if anything, maybe more. But so because Whitney is a twin, I thought that was kind of interesting. I think, Hannah, you have some facts about twins, and then let's have Whitney talk about some different cool ideas that we can do when you have both twins that have maybe sets of
Yes. So I sort of thought that twins had a higher prevalence of hearing loss than single babies, and they do. I can think of 3 pediatric patients who are a member of a set of twins, but in all cases, only one of the twins has hearing loss. And so it really relates back to, how long babies are in the womb. So to start out, the referral rate, so when we do newborn hearing screenings, twins, the rate of referral is 30%. And for non-twins is 22%, based on one study. And I bet that that's a little bit better now, but this was the study looking specifically at twins versus non-twins. But some of the risk factors, just in general, for hearing loss, congenital hearing loss, low birth weight, premature birth, being in the NICU for multiple days, having to be on a ventilator for multiple days. And those are all things that would be more likely to happen to a twin because they're not in the womb as long. They don't weigh as much. They're not as big, all of these things. So one thing that I found was really interesting is that risk factors for hearing loss, and this is by the definition of the Joint Commission of Infants with Hearing Loss. And so it's some of those risk factors that I just listed. That's present in 50% of twin and triplet babies. There was less information for me on triplets just because that's an even smaller sample than twins. But they looked at birth order, which I was talking to Whitney about this because I didn't know. Apparently, the birth order of twins matters, and the second born is more likely to have, need intervention or have a NICU stay or, whatever. And in Whitney's case, she was telling me she was the second and like 27 minutes between the two of them. But they didn't find any difference. Like the second born is not more likely to have hearing loss than the firstborn. So it's more related to they're smaller, they weren't as many weeks gestation when they were born. And then some of the other stuff like hyperbilirubinemia and things like that come with smaller babies. So yes, more likely, but it's just kind of because of the risk factors that also relate to single babies. It's just usually they're not in there as long.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So because we've actually got to experience this, since we do have, at least I know, one set of twins that both have hearing loss. A couple things you can think about when you're, if you're pursuing hearing devices for the kids is, different colored hearing aids. One is very, very helpful.
And wives too.
Yeah, and husbands and wives. Yeah, that's a good one too. And this would also go, I guess you wouldn't have to be. Let's just try to pick different colors. I think it's just easier for everybody, and it's easier for us as your provider. And then also ear molds. So letting them choose different colors, I think, is helpful. That way, at the end of the day, if for whatever reason, mom or dad or grandma or grandpa are holding both sets of hearing aids, it's not so much of a guess of whose is whose. So that's a good idea. And then I also think, I was really competitive with my brother in academics. But I feel like with twins or having a sibling that has a hearing loss, almost like being accountable for each other. Like, did you put your hearing aids in? I'm wearing my hearing aids, So I think there's definitely some pros if you do have a sibling that also has hearing loss, because you have a built-in buddy that knows what you're going through. And so those are some just kind of fun ideas if you are a twin or you have a sibling and you guys are pretty close in age and you both happen to live under the same roof and both wear hearing aids.
I can see the competitiveness come out too between husband and wife too.
Yeah.
Like, I've got my hearing aids on. Do you, or whatever?
Yeah, I wear mine for 14 hours today.
Right, exactly. Kind of like my sleep was this, and
Yeah,
it's a contest.
Yeah,
I fit a couple different sibling pairs at the same time. Not that they were first identified, but it was kind of exciting because we got the new chargers and everybody's got a different color, but they work the same. And this, it's like a group training session for parents and siblings. Because we have some sets of siblings too that both wear hearing aids, probably just genetic related hearing loss. But so that's kind of fun. I feel like it's fun when it's a little group fitting session, and you get to show them the upgrades. Maybe if they had hearing aids with batteries and now they're rechargeable, that's kind of the new cool stuff, or the streaming stuff, or the app on the phone can make it really exciting. So
yeah, and I'm even thinking of I've been to schools and have done school visits, talked to classrooms and teachers and things like that. But if you are a sibling that has one of your siblings that has a hearing loss, it'd be great to even have you talk to your classroom or whatever it is to help people understand, how hearing aids work or different devices that they might be using in the classroom. So I think that would be kind of cool coming from a family member. Which brings us to, yes, it's National Siblings Day, but also we don't want to leave out the people that may or may not have a sibling, right? But we had thought about it. And if you don't have a sibling, like a family member or somebody else or a friend even could be that person, right? That is your advocate, or that you teach about different things as well. So we don't want to leave the people out that may not have siblings just because it's National Siblings Day, but just think about, another family member that applies to everything that we just talked about, help you out. So, giving a little bit of history about what National Siblings Day was and how this woman, Claudia Avart, created the holiday after losing both her brother and sister. There are ways that we wanted to talk about what you can do to celebrate National Siblings Day and what she intended. And so she said something easy that doesn't cost any money is just giving your sibling a hug today, taking them out for ice cream, or watching a favorite movie together. Now, for Whitney and for myself and half of Hannah's siblings, they're not close by, right? And so there are other things that you can do just to kind of cherish that relationship that you have. If they're long distance, you might see something going around on social media today that you can post a picture of them. Again, For me, I would do it, and I probably will, but my sister probably won't even see it. So, but yeah, you could do social media. You could do a post just to thank them or to reach out to them that way. But we just wanted to kind of bring that up. Anything else, you guys?
Nope.
All right. Well, next week we won't be here. I'll be traveling, and so we will skip next week, but we should be back for one more All Things Odd in April. We've got a great topic for that already, so we'll be working on that, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this show, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Thank you.